Welcome. In this video, I'm going to show you how to use the read screen in the Greek New Testament Study app. Now, the Greek Study app is a mobile app, but it also runs on desktops, Windows, Macintosh, and Linux. And so I'm going to record this on Windows. It makes it easier for me to show you my cursor. You can see what I'm clicking on. The read screen is the screen that the program starts up at. You can also get to it at any time by clicking down here on the navigation bar at the bottom and choosing the read icon all the way on the left. I'll also note here that I'm showing this to you in version 2.0 of the program. If you have an earlier version from version 1, then you won't have these Greek and English tabs at the top. In that version, there was only the Greek text. You can find out what version you have at any time by clicking on the About icon down here at the bottom. The very top of it will say how to use this app, and it will show you which version you're using in parentheses. So let's go back to the Read page by clicking on the Read icon. And here, when the Greek tab is turned on, you'll see that this is the text of the Greek New Testament. This is from the Society for Biblical Literature, so it's called the SBL-GNT, the Society for Biblical Literature, Greek New Testament. If you click on the English tab, this is the text of the Lexham English Bible, also known as the LEB. It's put out by Logos Bible Software. So let's go back on the Greek tab. The first thing you may want to do when you start the program for the very first time is change the font. By default, the text in both the Greek and English tabs is the Gentium Plus font, but you can change that to any font you have on your system. If you click on this little blue gear icon up here, this takes you to the font dialog box. You'll see we're in Gentium Plus, but if you click this drop-down box, you'll find all of the fonts on your system here. Perhaps you want to see it in a sans serif font, so I could choose Free Sans, and this box will show you what it looks like. I'm actually quite happy with the Gentium font. That's why I chose it as the default. So I'm going to leave it as Gentium, but I am going to increase the font size to make it just a little bigger. My eyes aren't quite what they've always been. I could also, if I wanted to, adjust the line size, but I'm happy with the default. So I'm going to choose all that and then click Accept, and the program will go through, and now it displays it in this larger font. Same thing on the English tab. I could click here, and you'll notice that the English tab and the Greek tab, the fonts are totally separate. You can set them to what they want. Again, well, let's set this to a sans serif font. Let's make it a little bigger as well. This is what it's going to look like. So I clicked Accept, and now it changes the font everywhere. So now we're looking at English in this sans serif font, and we're looking at Greek in Gentium Plus. And you navigate through the Greek text just as you would any mobile app. You just swipe to scroll. Now, since I'm showing this to you on a desktop, I'm actually using the scroll wheel on my mouse. We'll talk more about scrolling at the end of the video. But notice as I scroll through the Gospel of John that the chapter menu bar here, it's increasing. The program knows where I am, and as I scroll, it changes to reflect that. Also, now if I click on English, you'll notice we're still in 5. We were in chapter 5 over in the Greek text, and we're in chapter 5 here in the English text. And if I scroll some more in the English text, so I'm going to go here to the beginning of chapter 6, and I click over on the Greek, then sure enough, we're in chapter 6. Now, you could scroll through the whole book this way, but also you can click on the chapter menu bar here. I'm actually going to choose and go to the very end of the book, the last chapter, and from that I'm going to scroll down to show you that you can't scroll past a book. We're in John. If you wanted to go to the next book of Acts, you'd have to come up here to the book menu and choose Acts, and that would take us to the book of Acts. But let's stay here in John for the moment. We'll go back to John chapter 1. The point of this program is to be able to read the Greek New Testament. So imagine we're reading along here in John chapter 1. Enarche ein hologos, kai hologos, ein proston theon. You go all the way down, you get everything. You come to the very last word in this paragraph, in verse 5, kateleben. Hey, skotia auta u kateleben. So the darkness could not something it. You don't know what kateleben means. Anytime you see a word that you don't know what it means, you can simply click on it, and it will pop up this blue dialog box here. This will show you what the dictionary form of the verb is. So kateleban is from the verb katalambano. It will tell you that this is a verb. It will parse it for you. This is the third person singular of the aorist active indicative of katalambano, and it will give you a gloss here. This is to seize tightly, to overtake, or to comprehend. Up here in the upper right-hand corner, it'll show you how many times this word appears in any form in the Greek New Testament. This one only appears 15 times, so it might not be surprising if you didn't recognize it. Now, if you click away, that box goes away, or if you even just begin to scroll in either direction, that box will go away. If you want more information about this word, you can click on the blue box, and that will take you to the details page. All of these lines can be clicked on either to edit or get more information, but if you're interested in that, check out the details page video. I'm going to go back to the read screen. I can either click here on the back arrow or I can click down here on the read icon. That's what I'm going to do, and it takes us back. And notice, now the word we are looking at is highlighted, and in fact, it will be highlighted everywhere in any form that it appears in this book. Now, Cataleben is not that common, Catalambano, but let's click the article, and let's go look at the article and then come back quickly. And you'll notice now, it's been highlighted everywhere all the way through because, of course, the article is very, very common. It's the most common word in the Greek New Testament. You can get rid of the highlighting at any time by simply clicking and holding anywhere on the text, and it will disappear. Also, if you're on a mobile app, you can shake your app, and that will make the highlighting go away as well. So you read along through here, hopefully being able to click on particular words and see what they mean. That will be enough for you to go through and read the Greek New Testament. But also, if at any time you're stuck or you're not sure, you can click over here on the English. So we're reading along here at the beginning, en arche ein hologos, kai hologos ein proston theon, but we can click on the English and see how the translators of the Lexham English Bible translated it. And you can imagine how they have. In the beginning was the Word, and the Word was with God. Now, you'll notice there also are some visual features to how the translators translated here on the English page. So look here, for instance, this word things. Anytime you see a word or words that are in brackets and italicized, assuming the font you've chosen has italics, otherwise they'll just be bracketed. That means those are words that did not appear in the Greek text, but that the translators had to add them. Either they're implied or we need them in English to make sense. So here on verse 3, we have all, and they've added things. And sure enough, if we go back here to the Greek and look, it's panta diautou. So all in the neuter, plural, that's all things. So anywhere you see a word or words that are bracketed in italics, that means that those words weren't in the text, they were supplied. Anywhere you see words that are underlined, that means it was an idiom. So the translators have had to translate it in some non-linear form. And anywhere you see one of these blue ampersands, those are translator notes. So anytime you see an idiom, there's going to be a blue ampersand next to it, and you can click on those. And in this case, it will tell us, okay, literally in Greek, this doesn't say whose name was, it says the name to him. But also notice there are many of these. You can come and click through and read the translator's notes on how they translated it. So for instance, our word back here, kateleben, to overtake, to grab hold of, to comprehend, they make a note. They've translated it. The darkness did not overcome it, but they have a note that says, or it could be comprehend it. So as you read through on the English side, hopefully that will give you some clues and some help in how to decipher the Greek side. So this is the main point of the program, in my opinion, is to be able to read and to enjoy reading the Greek New Testament. You navigate the books in the books menu, you navigate the chapters in the chapter menu, you scroll through. As you see words you don't know, you click on them. If you need more information, you click on that word to get more information about it. It gets highlighted. If you're not sure, you can always go to the English side and see what they've said. One more thing I want to add, and that is, as we said at the beginning about scrolling. If you're on a mobile device, you swipe to scroll just like normal. But since this is a mobile app, you'll notice there are no scroll bars. You need to have some other way to scroll. So as I said, I'm using the scroll wheel on my mouse. You need that, or you need a touchpad or a touch screen, something that will allow you to scroll the text up and down. But even though there are no scroll bars, you can enable scroll buttons. If you go again to this blue icon here, and you could be in either the Greek or the English side, at the very bottom there's this line that says show scroll buttons. I'm going to click that line to enable it, and then click accept. And you notice now we have these blue double arrows here, and they're on the English side as well. They point to the right, which means the scroll buttons are hidden. But watch, when I click on them, Then they switch to the left, and we get these 4 semi-transparent buttons. They say top, scroll up, scroll down, and bottom, and they do pretty much exactly what you think they would. The bottom button takes you to the bottom. Here we are at the bottom of John's Gospel. Top takes you to the top. And this is true in the Greek and in the English. Here we're at the top. This takes us to the bottom. Scroll up and scroll down will scroll you initially, if you click on them, by about half a screen. But if you click and hold them down, they'll accelerate. They'll move a couple half screens, then a couple full screens, then 2 full screens. So watch what happens as I click scroll up. Notice how the chapters start going faster and faster. So we can quickly move all the way back up or down somewhere by clicking and holding. Once you've enabled these scroll buttons, they actually appear everywhere. So for instance, back on the About page when I showed you where you could find the version, sure enough, they're here as well. If you click to enable them, now you can go to the bottom. If we had some of these opened up, then we could scroll up through them and use the scroll button. So if you're on a device that doesn't have any sort of touch screen or you're unable to scroll, you can always enable these scroll buttons and they'll allow you to scroll manually. And the program will remember them, just like it remembers your fonts, all the changes you make. Wherever you stop reading when you close the program, that's where it will open. If the scroll buttons are up, you'll see them. Now there's one more thing I want to show you about the Read page, and that's a feature I actually just added to version 2. That's the Bookmark feature. So you'll see the Bookmark icon up here in the upper left-hand corner, and if you click on it, it simply gives you 3 options. The first one is to bookmark the passage you're in. That's John chapter 1. The second is to go to your most recent bookmark, which in our case is still John chapter 1. And then the third, obviously, is just to cancel. So let me show you how I use this. I've mentioned to you that right now in my church, I'm preaching through 1 Peter. So I'm in 1 Peter 3. And so I'm going to set this as my bookmark. I'm going to click on the bookmark icon, and I'm going to click the first item, bookmark 1 Peter 3. And then I'm down here in verse 8, and I'm looking at some of these rather unusual words that only appear one time all the way through the New Testament. And then I come to this one, el splanknos. That actually appears twice, so I want to check that out. So I click here to go to the details page, and if this looks unusual to you, then check out the details video to see how this works. I click on occurrences, I go to Ephesians, I click here, and I come back, and so now I can study this verb, this word here in Ephesians. I can read the surrounding context. I could go over and look at what the Lexham English Bible says about it. I could do some more studying if I want, but eventually I want to go back to 1 Peter 3 because that's where I'm doing my work. Now, obviously, I have some options. I could click up here on the button to change the book I'm in and go to 1 Peter, and then click on the button to change the chapter and go to verse 3. Also notice that because I've come from the occurrences page, and again, you'll have to check out the details video to understand this, I've got this back arrow, which would take me back here, and I could open up 1 Peter. This one's easy since there's only a couple. If there'd been many, that could be more difficult to find it. But also, if you have the back icon, if you simply click on any word in the text, then it will change back to the bookmark icon. Now I'm going to click on the bookmark. I have the option first to bookmark what I'm in, which is Ephesians 4, but I'm going to tell it, no, I want to go back. And here we are. We're right back in 1 Peter chapter 3, and I can easily get back to the passage that I was studying. This is how I use it. This is why I added it as a function. I got tired of having to go up here and change books whenever I was trying to chase down a word. So I hope this video gives you a good overview of how you can use this program to read your Greek New Testament. That's really why I built it in the first place, was to help me read and enjoy reading my Greek New Testament, and I hope it does that for you as well.